Good morning, and welcome to Backchannel on this Thursday morning. It's the 31st of March, last day of the month. It's 9 o'clock here on the West Coast. It's 12 o'clock Eastern, and welcome to Backchannel. And I'm Anthony Davis. It's the Anthony Davis Show. You have me for a couple of hours as we work our way through the stories of the day, the news that's happening, find out how America's feeling on this Thursday, and lots to talk about. You can get in touch, of course, in the usual way. If you have an Echo Show, that's really the best way, because the Echo Show is really, it's the optimum listening device, because of course there's a screen, so you can see what's happening as well. Wake it up, say, and then your message, and then you can connect with me that way. There's also YouTube. You can follow the show there, comment there too. And finally, if you want to just text or message whilst you're watching the stream, then you can go to backchannel.tv on your browser. That's backchannel.tv on your browser. So, where do we get to? Oh, yes, that's right, the beginning of the show. Lots to talk about. We've got Joe Biden considering tapping oil reserves to control gas prices. This is preparing to order the release of 1 million barrels of oil per day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserves. Bruce Willis is to give up acting due to a diagnosis of aphasia, or aphasia, I think it is. It's a brain disorder which impedes the ability to communicate, both to speak and to, understand, which is very sad, obviously, because he's such a superstar. And finally, the world is seeing the greatest number of conflicts since the end of World War II, according to the UN. 2 billion people, it's in fact a quarter of the world's population, is now living in conflict-affected areas. So we've got that to look at too. We're going to talk about all of those subjects. We're going to look through the morning papers first. Oh, well, we've also got Women's History Month later as well, and find out who the superstar is right there. Let's jump into the newspapers. The San Francisco Chronicle is our first one. Let me move that to a new window. There we go. Oh, Sweetsa's in, Riyadh's in, Tangible Octopus is in. Welcome to the Back Channel this morning. Great to know that you're here. Riyadh's in California. Tangible Octopus is in California. Sweetsa, California? Doesn't say. You're just listening on an Echo speaker. But if you want to upgrade, go get yourself an Echo Show. If you want to message me, then via backchannel.tv. Or, of course, you can see us on YouTube as well. The San Francisco Chronicle this morning leads with hospital may be hit with closure. This is Laguna Honda. Has until April 14 to fix violations. It's nice to know, isn't it? This hospital that is so underfunded or underoperated that you risk your own life going there to get better. Yes, federal regulators have threatened to pull critical funding from San Francisco's Laguna Honda Hospital. It's like a tongue twister, isn't it? After 2 patients overdosed at the facility last year, a dramatic measure that could force the hospital to shut down. Also in San Francisco, happy hour is on life support. This is a workday winding down, and the sun diving lower in the sky has meant one thing for many thirsty San Franciscans: happy hour. The special time between the stress of work and the commute home, when a pint and a bar bite offered respite from the day's drudgery, or at least it used to. Well, 2 years of telework and empty offices have meant the disappearance of the 4 till 7 p.m. golden hours, when many watering holes around the city, especially downtown, saw their swiftest sales during the work week. Well, now, with Mayor London Breed encouraging businesses to order workers back to offices a few days a week or more, the ritual is returning, but it's not like it was. Do you know, I think I've only ever gone and done like an after-work drink maybe like 3 times in my life. I've so rarely worked in an office environment with people where you would go do that. I mean, I've said goodbye to people as they go. Bye, have a good time. The idea of actually going along, I think it's because I never really drank alcohol, just never liked it, So, and you do really need to be drinking alcohol to kind of enjoy happy hour. Happy hour is sometimes a little cheaper, less busy. It's kind of a good time to go, right? Anyway, it says Mondays and especially Fridays are seeing less foot traffic downtown, which makes midweek after-work happy hours more likely. Some people working from home are also choosing neighborhood saloons closer to home rather than venturing to other parts of town, which is, kind of cute. A war underscores unequal policy of asylum seekers. This is also on the front of the San Francisco Chronicle this morning, carrying a folder of documents and clutching her young son's hand. The woman from Guerrero approaching the gate and asked in Spanish how she could enter. With her other children a short distance away, the mother of four explained they were escaping cartels that had threatened her at gunpoint. Yes, this is U.S. Customs and Border Patrol officers. They waved her away. This is at the San Yidstro border crossing, where Ukrainians and Russians fleeing the war between their countries joined other migrants seeking passage to the United States. That's on the southern border, of course. Grey Bat just dropped in from Marlin. Hello, hello. Riyadh says, I missed happy hour. Yeah, I know. I do get a sense that this type of thing will come back, but you might have to do it virtually. You know, you have to open a beer and your Zoom friend opens a beer and you just kind of, you know, just do some mutual beering. I mean, it's the future. It's the future. It's the future. Oh, you're Mr. Happy Hour. Is that what you meant? You're Mr. Happy Hour? Like you're either you're permanently happy or you're permanently drinking. One or the other. You know? You know, in English culture, it's actually pertinent to be a little bit drunk all the time. You know, that famously the gentry would carry a hip flask, and to be a little drunk all the time suggested that they were kind of well off. They could afford alcohol. So they were normally rum or something similar, but they were just always a little tipsy. I like it. So that's the San Francisco Chronicle this morning. A story out of Ukraine. Russian forces bombarded areas around Kiev and other cities just hours after pledging to scale back operations in those zones to promote trust between the two sides. The shelling and intensified Russian attacks on other parts of the country tempered optimism about any progress that the talks aimed at ending the punishing war. I mean, I said this yesterday, and I stick with my view. I don't think these talks are really genuine. I just think they're lip service, you know? Just a distraction. Give the impression the Russians actually care about a ceasefire. I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to obliterate that country, sadly. The Russian military's announcement on Tuesday that it would de-escalate near the capital northern city of Chernihiv to increase mutual trust and create conditions for further negotiations was met with deep suspicion from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the West. You know? And then finally, leaders in politics and arts honour Charlotte Schultz at a memorial. Yes, she's the longtime chief of protocol at San Francisco, and the state of California was remembered on Wednesday at a VIP-studded memorial service at Grace Cathedral. She died on December 3rd, aged 88, after a 2-decade battle with cancer. She was the widow of former Secretary of State George Shultz, who died in February 2021. Apparently, she put San Francisco on the map as an international city, according to Dianne Feinstein, the senator, who made remarks via an audio recording. Everybody's working remotely, even Dianne Feinstein. You'd think at her age she'd make the effort to drive. So there we go. That's how that looks this morning. Riyadh says ideally both. Yes, to be Mr. Happy Hour, and also I miss Happy Hour, but to be a little bit drunk all the time. As well as just loving Happy Hour. I do feel, maybe Happy Hour is just going to be the theme of the show today. You know, I get a sense that there's a sense of loss for the Happy Hour. Okay, let's jump on the Montgomery Advisor out of Alabama this morning. Senate panel OK's record teacher raises. It says a Senate committee on Wednesday would keep a place for teachers. Teachers with a base salary climb from 58,000 to 63,000, 9.3% increase. Teachers are paid so little anyway for the amount of work that they do. They're currently getting 58,000, right? 17 years experience, 58,000. Just think about how many hours a teacher's works, you know, just like the pre-stuff and all of the preparation for the class, and then making work, and it's not just when you're in school, you know, it's a bit like that. It doesn't just happen. More experienced teachers could see major jumps in pay as well. It says a teacher with a bachelor's degree and 26 years experience would see their base go from 53 to 60,000, an 11% increase. And a teacher with a master's degree and 35 years experience would see pay climb from 63 to 76. That's a 20% increase. Tangible Octopus just joined us from California. First time on the show. Welcome. And same with Real Rebel Leopard. First time on the show. I mean, you can, if it's your first time and you're just like, whoa, what am I doing here? You know, there's all sorts of ways that you can join in and get in touch. And if you have something to say about anything we're discussing, then be my guest. You know, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but you can put words into the mouth of your Echo show, the Echo or the other word, and then the word say, and then your message. And then it'll come through to me here, and then we can talk, you know. I can't see you, incidentally. You can see me, but I can't see you, just so you know, in case you're worried. You look great, by the way. Project tackles woeful state of black belt wastewater infrastructure on the front of the Montgomery Advertiser this morning. It says the overwhelming lack of wastewater infrastructure in Lowndes County drew significant attention to rural Alabama, but the straight pipes and flooding sewage doesn't stop at county lines. The rich clay soil that often prevents traditional septic tanks from working extends throughout the Black Belt region, causing the same problems in at least a dozen more counties. I mean, people are really living with terrible waste and sanitation and drinking water. I mean, it's just terrible across a lot of the US, but in the South especially. Columbia World Projects, Columbia University's international research initiative, estimates 90% of septic systems in Alabama's Black Belt are functioning poorly or failing due to unsuitable soil conditions. Upon discovering this long-standing problem, Columbia partnered with Alabama stakeholders like the Consortium for Alabama Rural Water and Wastewater in 2020 to engineer a solution. Well, they've completed the bulk of initial work in identifying communities in need and developing affordable technology, and now Columbia World Projects is launching its second phase of its Transforming Wastewater Infrastructure in the United States project. Isn't that good to know? I mean, this is the thing about it taking so long, that they have come up with like newer solutions, you know, technologies now that make these things work, that are cheaper. A photograph also of it's Dollywood, of course. Inside Dollywood, $500 million could propel amusement park into tourism empire. This is about Eugene Norton. It says, while he walks around Dollywood, always ready to pick up the odd food wrapper floating along the path, he's listening for comments about a too long food line, listening for the telltale signs of a turned-around first-time guest. Are there enough places to sit? Is the walkway too narrow? Fixing the small things. The president of Dollywood Company told Knox News customer pain points like parking, seating, and ease of movement is key to taking one of America's most beloved theme park companies to the next level. Becoming an empire also takes money. The company is investing $500 million as part of a 10-year strategic plan to elevate Dollywood parks and resorts to a premier and eventually year-round destination. So they're currently building the Heartsong Lodge and Resort in Pigeon Forge. I actually thought Dollywood was just a joke, and it turns out it's a real place. It's a real place, and much beloved. I mean, I don't know. It's very hard to describe. The thing I would immediately think is that how does Dollywood compete with the likes of Disneyland? You know, is it just location? Is it just the fact that it's, you know, where it's located? Travis, you're welcome to drop in on this. Have you been to Hollywood? Not Hollywood, of course you have. Dollywood. I mean, I get the feeling that there are places that I haven't quite, you know, culturally connected with yet, that are so much part of the American culture. I've only been here 5 years, but I'm doing my best. You know, I'm trying my best to assimilate, but I haven't yet kind of understood. It's a bit like getting my head around why guns are so valued in this country. It's like I can't get my head quite around the fact that Dollywood is a real, serious, living, breathing place. You know, I always thought of it as a little bit of a joke. Have you Well, you go wherever you want, Travis. I mean, be small, be big. I think you should take half the screen. I think, you deserve it. You've had a wash. You've made an effort. You've pulled your moving curtain across. I mean, you've made every effort to deliver.
All right, you know what? Fine, just for you.
Yeah,
side by side.
Very good, very good. You didn't do your hair today, though. You just left that.
Oh, this is sort of how it. Yeah, We'll address that at a later time. The question was, have I been to Dollywood? No.
No.
I have not.
Okay. Where is it? I mean, I guess it's kind of south somewhere, isn't it?
Heart of America, wherever that may be.
Yeah. Where is the heart of America? The beating heart of America. Debbie's messaged via YouTube, and she says, you haven't lived until you've seen the Country Bear Jamboree at Disneyland.
I think, from what I understand, that might be the premise of Dolly World, just sort of taking the kernel of that and expounding it and personifying it.
Yeah. It's worrying. Stacey's dropped in, and New Dog, first time from Arizona. Nice to see you. Welcome. Rebel Leopard as well, and Tangible Octopus, all hanging out with us today. We're very popular, We've barely started, and already there's like a line around the block, Travis.
Oh.
It's quite something. Are you a theme park person, though? Would you kind of make that one of your hobbies?
Hobbies at this point, no.
No.
At 30, I fear for my bones being whipped around at such velocities. However, I was an enthusiast. There was one not too far from me growing up, and I've been to Disneyland a couple of times. However, since I've lived in Los Angeles, I have not been. And
what?
I haven't. I haven't been since I was 8 years old.
What?
As far as I know, California Adventure is a lie.
What?
I haven't seen it. I don't know that it exists.
What about Universal Studios?
Nope.
Unbelievable.
I know. Magic Mountain? Nope.
I mean, it's very disappointing. Where were you before California?
California.
Yeah, I've heard
a different part.
Yeah. The thing is with Universal Studios is it's just right in the middle of Hollywood, and it's actually not that expensive, whereas Disneyland is like, whoa, because I've just booked to take my children at Easter. And I think for 4 of us, it's like $650 just for one park. It's a lot of money.
Is that a rate for a resident as well, or I forget how they do some weird tuition deals,
they do?
Right?
Well, no one told me.
That might just be for the year. That might be for the year round exclusively. But
right.
My condolences, regardless.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's going to be an and it's only one day because my babies are small. So I mean, they're not going to be able to walk. I'm going to have to carry them. Debbie's saying that you've been to Knott's Berry Farm, Travis. She's literally telling you. Who is Debbie? Is this somebody we should know about?
Yes. This is my mother, everybody. Everybody say hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Well, at least, I haven't told my mum about this job, so...
Yeah, there's
There's Hal's mum as well. She's often in and out. And is her name Angela?
No, her name is also Deborah.
Oh, her name's Deborah. That's right. Deborah, yeah.
As Hal calls it, the 2 Debbie Day.
Yeah.
Up in the chat.
Right.
Those are good days.
Yeah, well, I'm pleased. Well, apparently you've been to Knott's Berry Farm, so don't deny that.
I've seen photo evidence. I've been to Knott's Berry Farm, which is arguably, I think, in the abstract, maybe my favorite theme park because it never tries to be more than it is, which is kind of silly. And that's where Steve Martin got his start in show business.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's why when he wrote The Jerk, which is one of my favorite movies, he kind of, went back to that kind of,
sideshow-ish.
Yeah, to kind of, relive that experience.
What a good movie.
He did a very good show recently called Only Murders in the Building. Did you see that?
It's the top of my list. This is the reason I don't go to theme parks is for the same reason I don't watch things that I'm supposed to.
Right.
Because I just simply cannot make the emotional commitment to give up that many hours of my day. I saw The Batman on Monday. I almost didn't make it.
What's 3 hours?
Yeah.
Is it good? Oh.
The more you think about it, the more I've thought about it, the less I've enjoyed it.
Oh. How does it compare to the Christopher Nolan Batman movies?
Not to just pivot this into bat talk. However, the
I can do bat talk, like the best of them.
Well, fantastic. I can't, so I'll let you lead on when we get in the weeds. But to my mind, which is I like comic books to an extent. I've seen all those films. I've seen a lot of them in theaters. The Dark Knight is unassailable. It's
the greatest. Yeah. It's the greatest.
You're never gonna do better than that.
You're never gonna do better than the Dark Knight. No, I agree. That's mainly down to Heath Ledger, probably. Yeah.
So good. It settles around The Dark Knight Rises, I would believe. I think there's more compelling performances in The Dark Knight Rises. I think Nolan's trilogy was more actor-focused than this new one is.
Right.
I will say that if you're a fan of the infrastructure of Gotham City, it's the best Gotham that I think I've seen.
Interesting. This is very good intel. Did you see it on the IMAX?
No, we really tried, and then it rained, and it was going to take too long, so we had to hard pivot.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I very nearly saw it on the IMAX the other day, but lunch got in the way.
See, this is the same. I'm not going to go to Disneyland if I can't plan for the Batman. Like, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I want to see it partly because I was very nearly Robert Pattinson's brother-in-law. So for that reason, I need to, keep an eye on the guy's career.
Can I just keep an eye on the what could have been the sliding doors. Can I ask how? I mean, I understand factually how, but contextually.
I dated his sister for a year.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and so so I knew the family and would all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm kind of proud of him, like I want to kind of keep an eye on how he's doing. He doesn't need my help. I think he's doing absolutely fine. But when I was in that family, he was making Twilight.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to ask what sort of age that was. Was his family less creepy than the family in Twilight? I mean, they weren't.
Very different.
All right.
Very ordinary London family, and really very ordinary, as ordinary as me, which is why I like them so much. But yeah, they were a lovely bunch. So yeah, I kind of keep a little eye out, as you do. But I'm a big Batman fan, and I honestly feel like and I'm a big Nolan fan. So this is why it's difficult for me, to kind of go and cheat on my favorite Batman with another Batman,
Yeah. Absolutely. There's always going to be that home team feel,
I mean, if you go back and look at Michael Keaton's Batman, that was a good Batman.
That's a really good Batman.
Yeah. His character is so good to be the Batman. So, I'm just saying, it's hard to kind of, you have to recast these characters in your mind.
Yep. And each director seems to take a new, which, is welcome, a new lens to what part of this universe am I going to highlight or underline.
Yeah.
Like Keaton was a very important figure. Batman was really important in that Batman movie.
Yeah.
Where in The Dark Knight, Batman was certainly a force and was there, an equal billing character, but not the most important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I also love Commissioner Gordon in the Nolan movies. I think that's a very deep character.
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially you have
Gary Oldman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was mentally replacing him with Willem Dafoe. The new guy, who also Jeffrey Wright does a very good job.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting character, Commissioner Gordon, and it was ignored in the original Batman series, with Burt Ward and Adam West in the 1960s. Kind of ignored. But really, Nolan brought Commissioner Gordon into a whole new place. And so did Gary Oldman. So, yeah, big fan. Listen to me talking about popular culture. This is very unusual for me. I really can't do it,
It's because I'm here. I've brought the wrong show energy. This is
No, it's fine. I'm on vacation from the real show.
Oh, fantastic.
Your mum wants to know if you're wearing pajamas.
Yes.
I mean, is she just trying to sabotage this program? Is that her plan,
Minorly. I mean, maybe not the program, but me and then unfortunate,
Yeah.
Innocent bystanders.
Yeah. Is your mum always followed you around and kind of caused trouble? Is that like a family trait?
She's been known to... Look, my mom is one of the fun. She's a comic genius. She's one of the funniest people I've met in my entire life, and she was also the first person I met in my entire life. But she has been known to, just lob motherly criticism in not inappropriate venues, but just when you least expect it.
I understand.
Yeah.
My mum has done a similar thing to me in the past. She's really set me up.
Oh, good.
Really set me up. My mum knew that I was going to be doing an announcing job for the BBC where I was going to be introducing Michael Bublé at Christmas. Mm-hmm. And rewind 2 months, and we went to see Michael Bublé at a concert. And my mum ran up to him when he was doing his shaking everybody's hand thing and said to him in his ear, "My son's going to be announcing you in 2 months' time." It was just so weird. I said to her, "What did you say to him down there?" She said, "Never you mind." Fast forward 2 months, I'm doing this show. Michael Bublé's rehearsing on the stage, and I'm sitting in the auditorium just waiting. And there's a tech stop, so he comes down the stairs, and he says, "Hi." I say, "Hi." He says, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm the announcer. I announce you." He says, "Oh, great." I said, "Actually, my mum told you a couple of months ago that I was going to be announcing you." He went, "That was your mum?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I wondered what this woman was saying to me. It was so weird." I said, "Well, that's my mum." He said, "Give me your phone." I said, "What?" He said, "Give me your phone. Let's call her." I was like, "Oh, no." So Bublé takes my phone, calls my mum, and goes off with my phone. He's just gone. I'm sitting there, phoneless. And apparently he spent 20 minutes trying to convince her that he was Michael Bublé. And then I got into trouble with the producers because apparently I had sabotaged Michael Bublé from rehearsals.
Right.
So there you go. You see, that's my mum doing what your mum's doing. It's like a whole thing.
Yes. That exact situation. Well, minus the Michael Bublé. That's fun.
Yeah.
But something very similar. I was in a play once, and I won't get into the whole thing, but there was not even a subtle irony, I was in the Diary of Anne Frank. I was playing a SS officer. My mom had made friends with somebody in the audience, who she later found out was a guest speaker who was someone who had been through World War II in war-torn countries and survived in the internment camp. And she got to be fast friends. And he goes, "Which one is your son in the play?" And she goes, "The screaming guy."
Nice.
Yeah.
They can always be relied upon, these people, can't they?
Yes.
Chief Alligator's in, and Behavior is in as well from Kansas, which is nice. Welcome. And there's a whole conversation going on between different people on the stream, which is wonderful. Stacey's saying Travis is coming in extremely low. Travis, you need to turn on your automatic gain control on your restream, I think. Set your volume to automatic.
I think that's my problem is I think I have, and it's sabotaging me.
Really?
You know what?
Maybe because you're overcooking it.
You know what? That's shush. I have it bookmarked. I have the page bookmarked.
You do. I'm so pleased. Well, you get that microphone, get yourself a nice new microphone. I really feel, the gift that keeps on giving is me recommending to people that they get rid of that microphone that Travis has got and they get one of these. It's basically my gift to anybody that I meet. I'm like, not that microphone, really. It's really quiet and not very good looking. Okay, more of your messages. Chief Alligator says, "What's up?" Aaron is with us as well from California. Rebel Cheetah's in California. Behavior is in Kansas. And Michaela's here as well in California. What's going on with California today? We're like, is it California Day? I mean, this is wonderful. It feels like a kind of community, a close-knit community. New Dog is with us as well from Arizona, and Stacy's in Texas. Or let's jump back onto the morning papers. We were looking at the Montgomery Advertiser, but let's go to the Ithaca now. And the Ithaca Journal, they lead with New York businesses seek state help to cover rising claims. Yes, New York business owners want the state to use some of the billions of dollars it received in federal relief aid to cover rising unemployment costs that threaten to swamp struggling businesses. Restaurants, hardware stores, hair salons, and other small businesses have seen their annual unemployment taxes increase between $180 and $250 per employee. They're saying it's crushing small business owners. This is Ashley Ranslow from the National Federal Independent Businesses Organization. She said they're already dealing with challenges relating to labor shortages and supply chain disruptions and rampant inflation, and this is another cost. I don't really know what annual unemployment taxes are, so I'm a little confused. But maybe you know and you can tell me. Where did Hochul get the Bills stadium money is the question. It says when Governor Kathy Hochul announced on Monday New York was all ready to put up $600 million towards the $1.4 billion cost of a new Buffalo Bills stadium. She was talking football after a weekend spent playing hardball with Seneca Nation. Yes, and that hardball brought a Buffalo windfall, to the tune of $564 million. A subpoena last Friday froze Seneca bank accounts and forced an end to a years-long dispute over revenue-sharing funds. Hochul said the state's share, more than $418 million, would go to the Bills' new stadium. The rest would go to governments in western New York near 3 Seneca casinos. Niagara Falls, Seneca Allegheny Resort Casino in Salamanca, Seneca Buffalo Creek Casino in downtown Buffalo. So there we go. I mean, I don't quite understand the concept, but it seems like some money has been released, and the governor, Kathy Hochul, knows exactly what she wants to do with it. Also on the front of the paper, Russia shells areas in Ukraine where it vowed to scale back. It says more than 4 million refugees have fled as attacks on civilian infrastructure continue. As we've been discussing, tragically. This is, an ongoing problem, isn't it? That the Russians, or Putin, I don't blame the Russians, nothing to do with the Russians, it's Putin, is basically suggesting that he's going to create these humanitarian corridors so that, civilians can be evacuated, and then he just bombs the life out of them. It says Russian forces pounded areas around Ukraine's capital and another city overnight, just hours after Moscow pledged to scale back military operations in those places. The shelling further tempered optimism about any progress in talks aimed at ending the punishing war. So there we go. That's the Ithaca Journal. That's how that presents itself this morning. Possessive Eagle has joined us. First time on the show. Welcome. Great to see you with your Echo Show device. Riyadh's back in again. Kelly's with us as well. So, Stacey says, I meant Travis needs to turn his volume up because he's coming in low. Well, that's just Travis for you. Maybe he just comes in low. Maybe that's just who he is. Just comes in low. And the Oregonian next, who really needs a second booster, is the headline. A photograph of Joe Biden smiling after receiving his second COVID-19 booster on Wednesday in the South Court Auditorium on the White House campus. Yes, it says many Americans now can get a second COVID-19 booster, but it's hard to tell who really needs another shot right now and who could wait. The FDA authorized extra Pfizer or Moderna shots for anyone 50 or older and for some younger people with severely weakened immune systems. It's an effort to get ahead of a possible next coronavirus surge. With COVID-19 cases low in the US, it's easy to ignore calls for another dose or for those who aren't yet vaccinated or boosted to get up to date, said Erica Johnson, infectious disease specialist at the American Board of Internal Medicine. Her advice, if you're on the fence, use this lull to talk with your doctor about how protected you really are and need to be. And it says anyone 50 and older can get the extra dose at least 4 months after their last vaccination, so can severely immune-compromised patients, such as organ transplant recipients as young as 12. Adults can choose either Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine for their extra shot, but Pfizer is the only option for children. The CDC says that the extra shot is an option, But those most likely to benefit are those most vulnerable to severe disease, including people 65 and older, and 50-somethings who have multiple health problems. So, this is it. Oh, Doug says Travis does need to turn the volume up. You see, Travis, they're all ganging up on you. It's almost like you've got a kind of, you've got a volume activist group now. People are really craving your volume. There's a little device here. I might have a spare one. I don't know. But it's a little. Here we go. Here, Travis, you need one of these. This is like a cloud lifter in a plug. So that will actually make you louder to the tune of about 20 decibels. Now, the only problem is you're over there and I'm over here. So I don't know how we're going to make this work. I could send it through the internet. Is there a way to kind of put it, inside and just send it inside like this?
That's what fax is for, right?
There we go.
Whoa.
There you go. Now you should have it. Do you have it?
I'm going to go search the entire house. I'll be right back. I have not that, but of course, as the, good little Boy Scout kit grabber I was, when I bought this mic, it did come with a cloud lifter for $50, which is, was that the FET head?
That was the FET head, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one more. You see, you've probably been through this when you get into a field and you look at all the writing on the wall and you follow it, and then you get farther along in your career and you go, well, I could have made better decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. But like I say, you can sell that old piece of thing for good money, and you could get. I told you what to get. I told you to get one of these. I'm telling you, this is the future. There it is.
I've been I've been through more than a couple of review videos since. And I said every time, dang it, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
My only problem.
Yeah.
My only problem at the moment is this is not the most isolated area.
Yeah.
And I have pause over what what is a condenser microphone? That's a large diaphragm condenser, right? Is it?
No, these are all dynamic.
I thought
they're all dynamic. You don't have to worry about any of the noise. This is going to be much better for that noisy room of yours. Look, I can put the air conditioning on. You don't even hear it. Listen. That's the air conditioning on.
Wow.
You can't even hear it because it's right behind the mic. You see? It's I'm telling you, if I give you advice, at least take my advice. I've only been giving this advice for 30 years.
Look,
by all means, watch some more YouTube videos, or you could just take my advice, and you won't even need a FET head.
That is correct.
Yeah.
It's advice I plan on taking. I am also on a lifelong quest to never sell anything again unless I'm absolutely sure of it. Not to say that I won't get that microphone. I'm just gonna get it and then also have this.
No, I don't understand that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just like, why? See, I have a rule in my house, and that is that I will only buy something if I sell something of equivalent value.
Oh, that's not bad. That's
right. So it's like constant churn, right? Yeah. So it means I can have anything I want, but I have to sacrifice something to get it. And it works rather well. I've so far sold my son, and
Would you? Well, hold on. What was equivalent value?
An iPod.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. It was an iPod Classic.
Oh, yeah, no, that's becoming a
250 megabytes. Yeah. So I just yesterday I put in an order for fiber broadband. Fiber. Because I'm talking to you now on copper. Mm-hmm. This is copper. Mm-hmm. That's what copper gets you. But I just, I send a lot of big files. And the problem is, your internet service provider, all they do is publish the download speed. They're just like, this is 500 megabits, or this is, and it's like, I need upload, baby. I need upload. And with fiber, your upload is the same speed as your download. Whereas with copper, which I'm on now, your upload is 10% of your download.
That's right. Which, for the common user,
I disagree.
Really?
I disagree. I think, people use FaceTime and Zoom and, they're uploading
right.
all the time now.
You're right.
And I think that we're constantly, we need parity between our uploads and our downloads. I just think we do. I think the whole idea of downloading more than you upload is, maybe if you stream a lot of television, but the reality is that it should have parity,
I support that.
You on fiber there, or is that copper?
Copper. They won't come down here.
No?
No, they don't come around these parts.
Well, I'll be honest, they didn't come to this parts until recently. I've been on copper for a year because they didn't have fiber a year ago, and the fiber's actually cheaper, weirdly.
That's disgusting.
Everything like this is so expensive, you really choose, do I have another child or do I get broadband? Like these are the kind of decisions that people are having to make in California.
Yes, which is why I've employed the financial strategy of living with like 12 people that I'm not related to or responsible for.
And not having any children.
These are all financial choices that I've made.
Children are very environmentally unfriendly, apparently. People keep reminding me of this, They're like, well, you've created a gigantic carbon footprint. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just wanted to have a child. Or two,
Of us all, you're doing about as much as anyone I've met to offset that, whether that be through actions or just intellectually. So,
you're very sweet. Thank you. I mean, I drive an electric car. I've done that for 5 years. Helping my sister find an electric car at the moment. It's impossible to buy a car right now in Los Angeles. The prices are just through the roof of second-hand cars, just impossible. And did I mention that I'd bought an electric car on Craigslist about 6 months ago for $4,000?
That's the Leaf, right? It was
the Leaf, right. So I said to my sister, well, just get the same. The same car, the 2013 Leaf on Craigslist, is now nearly $11,000.
Great. Wonderful.
Right?
So
it's a joke. You can't even buy an old crap car anymore.
That was one of the best parts about moving to Los Angeles for me, was that there were used cars just literally littering the streets.
Yes.
You could just walk up and grab one.
Yes. Things have changed. It's so interesting. And where do they go? Where are these vehicles cascaded to? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, obviously they're, in junkyards and stuff. But like I said, when we've talked about electric cars before, your electric car should outlive you. It'll never need fixing. Because there's nothing to go wrong.
Right.
People need to get their heads around the fact that this is like the new... I watched a review this morning of a new Subaru electric car that's coming out. Quite like a Subaru, don't you?
I do. It has a certain societal association with me in terms of I had a lot of social studies teachers that did a lot of desert camping trips, and they all drove Subarus, and I love them for it.
They're kind of, You're going to get your Subaru dirty, aren't you? You're going to get it dirty.
It is the state bird of the Pacific Northwest.
Well, they have an electric car coming out next year, which is like it's like an SUV. It looks really good. I bought a car cleaning solution yesterday because, there's a drought here in California and we can't really wash things anymore. So I bought this no-rinse liquid. It's $20 for a bottle this size. You need just this much, and you add it to this much water. This much water, this much solution. You can wash your entire car, and you don't need any water or rinsing or anything. It's a technical solution.
Yeah, the geometry of it is escaping me. I'm trying to imagine, because we've been working with that in our laundry detergent for years now, the super concentrated. But
yeah,
I think at the surface
this isn't
area,
just concentrated. This is more than that. This is science. This is a liquid that draws the dirt off of your car and then enables you just to wipe it away. It's a science.
Wow.
It's not super concentrated. It's just a science. There's no suds. There's no foam or soap.
And it just sort of evaporates into.
You have to wash it on with a sponge, and then as soon as you've washed it on and you left it for a little bit, or you can spray it on, you then just dry it off with a dry one. And they suggest you do each panel at a time. And so there's no streaks and there's no water, just that much water, that much solution. Do the whole car with that much water.
That's incredible. And it just comes off on the towel and then...
Just comes off on the towel.
Wow.
Yeah. You get through 700 towels and then you have to put them all in the washer dryer.
Right.
I mean, that's often the problem, isn't it? You know, you try and save the planet in one way and then, of course, you end up killing the planet in another.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, those 3 gallons of water you're going to use to wash the car, then in the washing machine. But that's okay.
Yeah.
We're learning. We're trying.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Imposter just dropped in from Scale. Doug says, I've heard about those electric vehicles and I hear they're better on fuel economy. Very funny. Very funny. You know? Stacey says, I don't know what kind of tunes Travis put on today, but they're making me want to dance in my chair. Well, I actually find this is kind of quite mellow today, you know? Are we the only show that just plays music throughout the entire show?
As far as I know. We certainly don't.
I love it.
It's nice.
I just feel like it's... Because, you see, the way I talk is quite contemplative. Do you know what I mean? I sometimes do this.
As he asks me to contemplate what he's talking about. Yes.
And I feel like in that moment, the little piano playing in the background, it just kind of gives it a little bit more shizzle.
It is just, which makes sense because this is a place you have worked before, but shockingly reminiscent of listening to the BBC World News in the morning. And I'm up until 3 one day for whatever reason, and just it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, yeah.
It's this contemplative voice, and you know, that's inviting me to consider the angles of a topic.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah. I was that guy. This
sure.
is London. Yeah.
How I'm always interested in how, with the way that there are, like the health service, the BBC, these are functions of both society, their business, but also the government. Is that applying? Do you have a government job at that point? Like, how does that? Not that that's the most important part.
What you're saying, if you work for the BBC, do you effectively have a government job?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just curious on how that all sorts out.
Nah, you don't really think of it like that.
Interesting.
No, I mean, in the same way that if you work for the National Health Service, you don't think of that as a government job either.
Huh.
I mean, you know, government is the civil service. But we don't think of the National Health Service. We think of that as an institution.
I see.
We think of the BBC as an institution. So, you know, you don't really think of them as being... You think of it as public money, but you don't think of it as a government job. No, it's completely different.
Like a PBS here.
Like PBS.
All right.
Yeah. Isn't PBS a sandwich in America?
They have about as much funding as.
Oh no, that's PBJ. Sorry, I'm just learning, getting my head around the culture.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I love the fact that Americans cannot get their head around England at all.
It's confounding.
You know,
it's absolutely confounding.
Just doesn't make any sense to them at all. What do you mean you don't pay for banking? No, we don't pay for banking.
I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, well, if your money is in the bank, then...
They take it, right?
They're using your money as leverage the whole time, right? So that's them making money. So why would they need to charge you for a bank account? Why would they need to charge you to make a financial transfer from one place to another? You know, I was paying my rent, paying my landlord, and every time I pay my landlord, it costs $30. And I was like, what's happening? I thought it was free. I had no idea.
I already earned the money. It's my money.
It's just so offensive. So we have free banking. We have free healthcare, you know. Prescriptions you have to pay for.
Sure.
But they're capped.
Oh.
Let's see what the current price is for
$700-800 a pill, maybe.
Let's have a look. Like NHS prescription cost. Let's see how much it is now, because it goes up every year, and I haven't been there for 5 years. £9.35.
Which translates to roughly.
I'll tell you.
All right, thank you.
$9.35 in dollars. It's going to be $10.36.
Oh.
So that's how much a prescription is. So, like, you know, you go get your free health care, you go see your doctor or your specialist or your consultant, you know, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, here you go, this is your prescription, and they'll write it out, or they'll send it to the pharmacy. You know, they do have that technology now. And you pay $10.
Just regardless of.
And what they try and do is they'll be like, well, you're going to be on this for a year, and I can only give you a 3-month prescription, so you're going to have to pay the $10 4 times. And some doctors will say, you know something, I'll give you 6 months. Right?
Anthony, I'm going to have to move. Are you part of the tourism board? Is this a coup?
I used to be part of the tourism board. I'm a big advocate for the UK in many ways. Right. I just don't want to live there. You know?
Fair enough.
I just don't want to live there. Your mum's saying it's grand to hear 2 intellectual people speaking proper English. I mean, Debbie, where do I start with this? Because
she's a charmer.
The phrase proper English is an oxymoron.
I haven't called that before.
Right? And I mean it's very sweet of you, but I don't know that any of this is proper English.
Well, for some context, my mom is a resident of a town called Pahrump, Nevada, which if you thought might be a joke, is not. It's a city.
Pahrump.
Pahrump. I tried to find their daily pages on that newspaper. I could not.
I'm not surprised. I don't think anything happens there. There's no reason to write a newspaper.
No, it's I think it has a population of 12.
Well, that's because of all the kidnappings. That's the reason. It's all the kidnappings, Travis.
Mm.
You know? Another one gone. We're down to 11.
Yeah, well, better send Mike out to cross one off the board.
This is where you give your mum's address.
Yeah, it's 123 Fake Street.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I do know, but I don't know offhand, but it's in the Amazon thing for those. Yes. Anyways. Yeah. My mom loves her neighbors. She has a great time. She often pranks them. You know.
And I bet they love her for that.
Oh, it's great. But I wouldn't call. And if we have any Pahrump listeners, my apologies. From what the reviews have been so far, I wouldn't call the discourse very engaging around those parts for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's now saying, why do announcers pronounce every letter in a word? Take the word schedule, for example. I mean, I people write to me a lot because I say issues instead of, I don't know, what would you say to issues? What would you say?
There'd be an H in there. It would be issues.
Yeah, you put a fake H that doesn't exist in there, right?
Yeah, I put a fake H, just like you put a fake U in color. What of it?
No, but color is said the same. You know, color with a U sounds the same as color without a U.
That's true.
Whereas issues is how it's spelt. Issues, it's just not right.
I will concede this.
You know, I like to pronounce every letter. Your mum's absolutely right, because, you know, the letters deserve to be heard. And with schedule, that's an interesting one, because you Americans say schedule, right? You know what the English version of that is, don't you?
Is that schedule?
Schedule, yeah, schedule. It's the H that was missing from issues.
No, we found it. It pops up somewhere.
It popped up somewhere. We just stuck it back.
It's important, though. In my work as a voice teacher, the thing that I always try to get across to students is that the vowels are the soul of your word, but your consonants give it context. It shapes how we understand it. So if we're dropping consonants left and right, as Californians, more than a lot of areas are wont to do, it ends up being not indecipherable, but as a listener, you have to work harder to follow along. And people don't want to work hard.
I understand. I think that there is an inherent laziness that comes with modernity. And I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. You know, it's like I'm making a lot of programs at the moment. I think I'm making like 16 shows a week at the moment.
Oh.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's more time.
There's not enough time to watch TV, put it that way, you know? Like if I watch a movie, I normally have to like try it over a period of days, like it takes 5 or 6 times. Aunt Spicy and me is looking after me today, says Stacey. That's nice. Whispering Condors dropped in. Mute Lobster. Max as well. What do you think of all these new pseudonyms, Travis? These new kind of fake names that are appearing that people have a choice of.
Feels like a marketing meeting at a zoo.
I don't. It doesn't kind of work for me. I don't quite understand what the benefit is, because it means that everybody sounds mad. Right? It just makes everybody sound mad.
Mm-hmm. There's a certain aspect of heavy alliteration that gives me Vietnamish flashbacks to improv teams I've been on. Yeah. And that I disagree with. I think that we could do without it in that regard. I
just think people's real names are what, authenticity is kind of where it's at these days. But to be called like Hungry Beaver or something, it's just a little bit, or Slow Cat, who's just popped in as well. Oh, you meant Aunt Tracy's looking after you today. Okay, hi. Not Aunt Spicy, I was going to say. She sounds nice. Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, just taking this conversation full circle, I'm very pleased that you've recommended that I don't go and see the new Batman movie, and maybe I'll just wait for it on television.
If you're gonna IMAX or television, only 2 things worthwhile.
Do you know, I had this conversation with someone the other day. It's like our TVs at home are so good now.
Yeah.
That really the only reason to go to the cinema is to see it in a format that is so blindingly good, that is so like not traditional cinema, as in IMAX or 3D or 4D or 5D,
That's the one where they
6D.
slap you around a little bit.
Well, they do have that, don't they? What is that one with all the effects?
There's I think it's called D-Box, if I'm not mistaken, where
Right.
the chair will do stuff. And
and you get like water and wind and rain and
I remember that. I mean, back in the day, speaking of at the top of the show, theme parks, that was a ride. They had like a novelty theater where that was the whole bit.
And now it's just standard.
Yeah, interesting.
It's like years ago, air conditioning used to be an option. Now it's standard.
And seatbelts.
Well, seatbelts, I mean, My dad never wore a seatbelt, Just never wore a seatbelt. It used to upset me so much. And he's dead now, so we can say this about him.
Not because of the seatbelts, right?
No, weirdly. But, close. And he claimed he was claustrophobic, and he got a doctor. It's a little bit like Trump kind of pretending that he had, was it bone spurs to get out of fighting in Vietnam or something?
That's exactly correct.
My dad kind of found a doctor that he could bribe to claim that he had claustrophobia, and the seatbelt made him claustrophobic.
Incredible.
I mean, and he would say this with a straight face. I don't need a seatbelt because I'm claustrophobic. And I just used to think, I have such little respect for you right now. The fact that you're not considering your life. I mean, maybe he was like kamikaze, maybe he just didn't want to live. Maybe he was hoping that one day he would lose his life to a road traffic accident because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. But it just makes me very sad that, like, that was his thinking. That it's okay because he's got a doctor's note. Can you imagine what a police officer would have said if they'd have seen this note? They'd have been like, what are you talking about? I wonder if it was the same doctor that wrote Donald Trump's note.
The bone spurs?
For the bone spurs.
I mean, it very well may have been. I'm not sure exactly when your dad's claustrophobia fell on the time stream, but
probably around about the same time.
Yeah, there was a bunch of, I'm sure there was a doctor going around saying, who wants to get out of this? What do they got? I'll get you out of anything.
They found out who the doctor was that wrote the bone spur.
Really?
Yeah. He was a tenant of the Trump family. He actually rented from them. He was like and he wasn't even a proper doctor. He was a dentist or something. I don't know. He had a kind of halfway. He could look in mouths but not go any deeper.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that wrote it because he admitted to it, and he said they basically, said to me, you need to write this note for me, and if not, you can't rent from us anymore.
Good Lord.
What a lovely family.
just the unmitigated corruption and the.
I see that Ivanka at the moment is doing her best to help people get out of Ukraine. She's like, I don't know, airlifting children in her private jet or something.
Is this true?
Well, I didn't read the story, but I saw the headline that says Ivanka helping Ukrainian children. Maybe she's just thinking about them. You know, maybe that's the extent of it. You know, she's just sparing a thought.
Cutting headline from Vanity Fair. Ivanka Trump launches new image rehab tour featuring Ukrainian refugees.
There it is. There it is.
Yikes.
I like to refer to Ivanka as Trump's daughter/wife. You know? Because he talks a lot about wanting to date her.
That was one of the weirdest things. It's happened more than once, but that isolated clip that went around, good Lord.
Yeah, and he was asked, what do you have in common with your daughter? And she was about to say, I think, business, and he said sex. That was also a clip on television, which made me regurgitate my frosted flakes. I just feel like, you know, we're dealing with, and even this week, you know, he's been saying that he wants Putin to find dirt on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Like this week he's saying it, while Putin is bombing the crap out of innocent civilians.
Like, I am busy.
Right? Murdering children and all of this stuff that's happening. The darkest thing that has happened in our lifetime. And yet Trump is still like, I won the election and I'm going to prove that Biden didn't, and I'm going to get Putin to do it. It is so blind, the blindness, you know, the kind of social blindness.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It's so reminiscent. I remember some years back I listened to a comedic.
Can you come into half the screen, because you're so small, and if people are watching on an Echo show, you are literally like 3 pixels.
I'm sorry, I'm not used to being this involved. Well,
give yourself a few more pixels, Travis.
Yes, sir. Of course, I'm more than happy to. I feel fine.
Could you go the other side though? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do all sorts of stuff here.
Okay, that's better, because it's just I'm looking this way.
Oh yeah, that makes.
And I otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to kind of turn over here like this and look over here.
Well, see, what's funny is it's mirrored on my end. So what you're trying to do is happening the opposite way to me at the moment. But right now we're facing each other. If I do this, we're facing each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we are.
Great. So as I was saying.
Nice to meet you.
This is impossible to look at. I'm looking at a cubicle wall.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pieces of media for a long time was an episode of a show called The Dead Authors Podcast, hosted by comedian Paul F. Tompkins.
Mm-hmm.
And he would be H.G. Wells, and he would have different comedians on as an author to interview them about their life and their life's work. Mm-hmm. He had potentially one of my favorite comedians living of all time, Andy Daly, on as L. Ron Hubbard. And they went through the history of his life. It ended up being a 2-part episode. They didn't mean it to be, but they had to carry it on for another session. Went through the history of L. Ron Hubbard's life, and then the second episode was just Scientology and how it came to be, how it was founded. I'm not the first person to draw this parallel, but it is just remarkable how all of a sudden in 2016, I'm like, this isn't as funny as I want it to be anymore. This feels more prophetic than humorous now. This is unfortunate.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
You and I talked a little bit about Scientology recently.
That's right.
But I was saying to you that it could only happen in America. You know, to convince people that this is... What is it about people being so gullible here? You know, that this fascinates me. I mean, the fact that, like, just the rise of Trump is because people are gullible.
Gullible is a way to encapsulate, I think, a more nuanced, sedimentary setup of, you know, hurt, afraid, upset, misinformed, which, not to be, this gets far afield and becomes a whole sympathetic exercise, but if we consider America as a societal scramble to the top of the pyramid, just people clawing, whether they mean to or not, clawing and scraping up to the top, anything that seems like a leg up, we're inclined to take, unless we're in a position to think critically about where we are. And it's hard to do that moment to moment. Some people don't have that opportunity in their lifetime based off of, how they were raised, what their socioeconomic status is. This is stuff, I'm not explaining anything new.
No, this is very good. This is actually one of the best explanations I've heard. And let me tell you why, because it's not just the rise of Trump that people fell for. It's everything, like infomercials where the guy comes on and says, this is the best cutter of vegetables you will ever see. And then he demonstrates it, and you're like, wow, I'm going to get me one of those vegetable cutters. Because the guy said it was great, and I believe him. Now, in England, we'd be like, that's not going to work when it arrives.
That was I was going to ask, is there such a spirit of cultural entrepreneurship in the UK? Because it's the backbone of American society as we know it. That was the post-war boom, was look at all these materials for all these weird, cool things we can do.
Yeah, but it's the cynicism. It's the British cynicism that the Americans don't possess in the same way.
Yeah.
And so, for you, when Victor Khayyam says, this is the Remington microshave and it shaves as close as a blade or your money back, you'll be like, I'm going to get me one of those Remington microshaves. Whereas in England, Victor Khayyam used to advertise in England, by the way. I liked it so much I bought the company. He didn't sell as many Remington microshaves because people were like, nah, I don't believe you. And it's the same with like George Foreman with the grill, In America, everybody had a George Foreman grill because the guy was a boxer and he was like famous. And so if he's a boxer and he's successful, then you take that kind of boxing ideal and you put it into grills, because if Foreman can make a success out of boxing, he can make a success out of grills. And I, as an American, want some of that Foreman success in my meat where all the fat runs off. And I don't have to clean it afterwards because it's non-stick. Whereas in England, people will be like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. You've made a waffle iron slanted. Good job.
We are just obsessed with distrust. There's just distrust. And maybe gullible for Americans is the wrong word. Maybe Americans are more trusting.
And that might venture into two kind. I think Americans are opportunistic and also largely dumb. So we may not be able to see the opportunities for the traps that they are.
I can't say that. It's not my place to say that Americans are dumb. A, because I don't believe it, but B, because as an immigrant, if Ted Cruz heard me say that, he would have me deported.
Yeah, careful. And I should rephrase, dumb is not, but at large, we are as it speaks to me, a reactionary, emotionally driven sect of the world. Not to say other people aren't, but there's something unique about the way Americans approach, I think, society in our own view of ourselves in the context of the world that leads to I'm so lost in my own plot here. I can't find my way out. But the idea being that it makes sense that Scientology could happen here, like you said, only in America. Because it seems, and honestly, even if I can't nail down exactly the detailed why, just on a quote-unquote vibe check, you're like, would that happen in America? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But it's no different to Dollywood, if a singer in England said, something, I'm going to make my own theme park. The Brits would be like, we're not coming to that. We're not coming to that. We don't mind paying to see you sing. We're not coming to the theme park. Whereas I presume Dollywood over here is very successful.
Yeah, because not only is it, I think, verifiably, it's valid as a theme park. It's also, it's Dolly Parton, and that speaks, yeah, exactly.
But where is the connection between Dolly Parton and theme parks? It just doesn't make sense.
Where's the connection between George Foreman and a grill? Or
I
Shaquille
agree.
O'Neal and car insurance?
I agree.
Yeah. So,
yes. This is the thing. It's like these leaps of faith. And it's very interesting to me. I am, for me, like moving 5,500 miles is like a social experiment. I love it. And I have no desire to return, although I did book a ticket to go back for 7 days. I haven't been back since November 2019.
Oh, wow.
Divergent Snake has dropped in from Dismiss. I don't think that's a place. And Wicked Gorilla is in California. And Stacey says the word we're looking for is trustworthy. Interesting. I mean, it's good to be trustworthy, though. But it's a different kind of trustworthy. It's at the wrong end of trustworthy.
Yeah. It's interesting. Good Lord, is it interesting to think of the... throughout especially the 2000s of the daytime TV era, your Dr. Phil's, Dr. Oz's, things like that. This just... which, again...
None of them are doctors, by the way.
No, they're not. They're just people.
They're not doctors. I mean, only, again, in America, you could call someone a doctor when they're not a doctor. Or like a bit like Dr. Rand Paul, you know, who's like an orthodontist. You know, he like just does dental work. And he is being respected as somebody who has an opinion and that's valid. And the reality is the guy is an idiot.
Yeah. God, he is. Yeah.
Your mum says, did you know that Hulk Hogan was the first offered to advertise the grill and turned it down, and George Foreman took it and made a multi-million dollars from it? Did you know that? It was Hulk Hogan?
That makes a lot of sense. I did not know that. Huh. And there you go. That could have been Hulk Hogan's grill, and everybody would have...
Yeah, I'm just going to go and get the Hulk out of the garage.
See, when you frame it like that,
right?
I'm like, well, yeah, that's...
I mean, I did buy a George Foreman grill. It was one of the first things I did when I moved here. It's
Really?
like a freestanding. It looks like a barbecue with legs and everything,
Oh.
and it's very good. I really can't fault it. You know.
It does its job, but then again, its job is to make food hot.
It just makes it hot. Doesn't make it taste good.
Fair enough. Yeah, and we had a tabletop one at the house that was very much like a waffle iron, but just sort of tilted on its side, and it ran off. And yeah, it's frustrating because it's a viable product, but what it represents becomes more confounding as we get further on. You're like, how did we all get here?
I don't know. Would you be interested in talking briefly with me about Bruce Willis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, this has come as a bit of a shock. It kind of, overshadowed Will Smith smacking somebody at the Oscars. Because, Brucey he's 67,
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problem with a lot of these action heroes, is that you expect them to remain action heroes for the rest of their lives. But, when you're approaching 70, things are going to start to kind of go wrong with you, right? So he's been diagnosed with aphasia, which is a condition that impedes a person's ability to speak and write.
Mm-hmm.
He has a new wife, Emma Hemming Willis. And Demi Moore was, of course, his ex-wife. I mean, it's a real shame, isn't it? Because, we expect people to live forever, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And this honestly dovetails into our conversation about American culture and how iconic it is, in the sense that we look for icons to, follow and take our cues from. And just like you said, we expect...
Like Woody Allen or Roman Polanski or,
Yeah, among others.
Yeah.
And particularly the era of the action hero, which we're not away from, but the Bruce Willis, who was probably the more, I guess if you had to pick an art house version of the action hero, but your Arnold Schwarzeneggers, your Mel Gibsons and the like, and all the way down the line. It's I'm not old enough to have been with the start of his career in my formative years, but it's Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis has always existed in the public sphere as far as I know it. And to think like, yes, Bruce Willis is coming to the end of his career, and in a sense the end of his, he's getting old. He's like almost 70 years old. Bruce Willis at 70 is weird. Arnold Schwarzenegger at 70 is weird.
They're still doing good work, though. I mean, Arnie did a video last week for for the Russian people, talking about Ukraine. I don't know if you watched it in full, but it was quite a brilliant piece of propaganda. And I think it had a positive effect as well. I think it was kind of clever and it worked. But I don't know. I just feel... I mean, here's the other thing about action heroes in America. We don't have action heroes in England. Our action heroes are people like Mr. Bean. That's kind of a British action hero. Do you have a television above you, or is that a monitor?
It's a monitor. Sorry, I'm
so clever.
Keeping track of
I mean, what kind of spaceship are you flying there, man?
It's a output platform desk, and it does feel like a spaceship at times.
An output platform desk.
Yep, got it used. This was my version of the microphone deal. Found this in Highland Park for like $300.
And what does that contain? Is it like a kind of places to put monitors and?
Yeah, it's just a larger platform. I have some rack space, 3 rack spaces. There's a large keyboard tray below for an 88 key piano, should I need it.
Right.
It's a rolling thing, and
it's very clever. You've got a whole thing going on there.
that's a great way to put it. I got a whole thing going on.
Well,
so
I got a thing going on here as well. But, people find it very deceptive of where I am. They think this is like a huge space. And the reality is it's a very small space.
That's right. You're saying this is essentially this. Was it a closet?
It's more of a bathroom. It's more of a toilet, with some foam on the wall. Like if you hear the sound of somebody flushing the bathroom, this is actually a public convenience.
Oh, okay.
So, occasionally people walk by having,
Sure.
a guy comes up behind me and washes his hands.
And you rent that, or is this all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just rent it from the city.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Los Angeles.
It's like a public convenience in Griffiths Park. That's
Sure.
basically what it is.
Of course.
But no, I was saying that the action hero in England is like Mr. Bean. We don't really have that. Well, James Bond, I guess, is the closest you get to an action hero. But he's a special agent. So he has a license to carry a weapon, and they make it very clear that he has a license to kill. It's a big part of the whole
This is the name of one of the movies,
thing, right? Yeah, exactly. Because people in England generally don't kill unless they have a license to, and he's the only one. And so what I've had to learn is that the action heroes in America who literally kill everything in sight and have like hundreds of guns rather than just a very small. I think James Bond's gun was called a Walter PPK.
That sounds familiar.
The name of the gun, a Walter PPK. It's like a little pistol. Is that, the whole American culture of like the big guns. I've had to kind of get my head around the fact that that is actually a representative of American culture. Like the action hero with the big guns could only happen in America because having big guns is kind of normal. And it's not really a surprise that you could go and, just annihilate half of a town and think that that was okay. It's okay, it's American culture. And when I see parents taking their children to see X-Men movies, like 6-year-olds and 5-year-olds see X-Men movies where everyone gets annihilated, I'm like, is this healthy? And then I have to remind myself it's just American culture. To be violent is natural. It's a naturally violent country. It's not a peaceful country. It's a very violent country. It's a very violent country.
Yeah, and that doesn't even necessarily have to fall exclusively under physical violence, though. That's, there's examples.
Well, just owning weapons makes it a violent country. People who have. You see how I came away from the mic then and it didn't change? You see?
Okay.
That's why you got to get one of these.
Talk about infomercials.
Right? Look at this. See, I can go all the way over here. It doesn't change. Nothing changes. So clever. I just feel like the level of violence here, it's just so normalized. And that's really my concern, is that we don't realize how we are indoctrinating children into like a violent, to think of what's acceptable. And it's a little bit like Ron DeSantis signing his Don't Say Gay bill the other day, surrounded by kids, little children, kindergarten age, signing his bill that is transphobic and homophobic and everything phobic, and yet surrounded by beautiful, innocent children who are now being indoctrinated into thinking that to be homophobic is a good thing because the governor is being homophobic.
Yeah.
This is the concern. This is kind of indoctrination into like carrying weapons or feeling it's okay to. I mean, I had a friend who had a break-in.
Mm-hmm.
They were we say burgled in England, but you lunatics say burglarized. No idea why. Not even a word. And the police came and they advised my friend to get a gun. Mm-hmm. That was the advice from the police. Get a gun. from the LAPD.
That sounds about right.
Get a gun.
Yeah.
Whereas in England, they'd say, get an extra lock on your door.
Right.
You know? Because we can't get guns.
Yeah, and, I think I appreciate and I see the parallels that we can draw between this behavior and things we see in the media and how we're raised in America and the things that we've seen. I think that I would posit it's more, and it's because we're talking about Bruce Willis, but I think the culture that we're raised in socially, separate from media, has more of a greater impact, has a greater impact on that kind of behavior than just what we're watching. Because I think there's a greater opportunity for, this is hard to pin down, but I think it's because this is the same stuff I grew up with, and so this is a false positive. I don't have those tendencies, and and I work with people and friends and this. So I'm admitting to my own echo chamber here, but I know that there is a way around it. That it's not necessarily Die Hard is not. Okay, so this is the problem, because while Die Hard may not inspire a whole lot of mass shootings exclusively, it could inspire one, which is problem enough in the abstract. Like the Batman movie theater shooting that happened, what was it, The Dark Knight Rises, I think, some years back? And things like that, to where, yeah, you know what? I've come around. I think there needs to be more caution in media, at least more, especially in the nuanced approaches of what are we portraying and what are we saying is okay to do, I guess. Because you can have violence, but it would do you well to not condone it, even by what's happening on screen.
I mean, I was just looking while you're talking on the statistics of mass shootings. Now, a mass shooting is considered a shooting where there's more than one person, right? And it says 2021 was a very bad year for mass shootings. It said, after a lull in mass shootings at the start of the pandemic, the number of incidents soared in the late spring. By the beginning of June last year, there'd been more mass shootings to that point than in any of the prior 6 years. By the end of the year, there'd been almost 50% more than in any year from 2014 through 2019.
Yeah.
It said it basically, I mean, oh man, I mean, there's literally, it says, in total there have been more than 1,800 people injured or killed in mass shootings in 2021. And that was, when was that measured? It was like measured in June. Half the year. I mean, there literally like tens of thousands of people get shot. I mean, that's just mass shootings, if you did like single shootings. It's like, it's literally tens of thousands of people shot with guns in America, And that includes people accidentally shooting themselves or accidentally shooting their kids or their kids accidentally shooting them. Or it's just like, and you would have thought, because I think this about action movies. I watch a lot of action movies. I do love an action movie, and you see like buildings collapsing and I look at it and I'm like, but that's the same as 9/11. Like what I'm watching in this action movie is basically a recreation of 9/11, seeing a thing fly into a building, the building explode, then the building collapse, and then dust being everywhere and people kind of running away from it. Yeah. That image is recreated in action movies all the time. You would have thought that the greatest atrocity in modern American history would not want to be replicated as entertainment. And yet, for some reason, it is in every action movie now. I mean, I just watched Free Guy, which I really enjoyed. It looked like 9/11 was happening every 7 seconds.
That's the...
How does that become entertainment for a country that is so completely consumed by a terrorist incident that happened, 20 odd years ago?
Because I think it's within our culture, and what happened there was 9/11 reaffirmed our violence and our taste for it, I think. And that's the taste for it feels like a weird way to put that, but I think that only inspired a greater sense of violence and adversarial behavior. that wasn't a we should relook at the way, because that was something that happened to us, at least in the public conscious. So it's not in the American way. It's not, well, we should renegotiate how we view violence. It's like, all right, we just don't like the people that did that to us. We can keep nothing wrong with our culture. We're going to keep going. And now I think it just, whether it's desensitization to scenes like that, action movies, explosions, violence, guns, because that had been happening long before 9/11. There's always been war and stuff like that. But it is.
But running away from a cloud of smoke.
Yeah.
I even was watching it in The Incredibles, which is animated, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like what is the appetite to keep recreating and enjoying something that happened in reality as an atrocity, and yet to have turned it into entertainment?
Yeah. It's odd, because I can't criticize them right there, you know? A bunch of they're in the Batman, there is a part where there's a situation of disasters where it's like a hat on a hat. It's like this is a certain number of disasters happening simultaneously that feel very much like things that happened in the country, and it had to get that ridiculous for me to be like, hold on a second. Prior to that, I was just par for the course, just right there, right with it.
It's very interesting. I mean, I find it fascinating. You know, I'm not critical of this country. I adore this country. I prefer it more to the country I was born in. That's why I'm here. But my point is that it's like, it's very useful for immigrants to say this stuff out loud, because often Americans don't like to make these connections, you know?
Yeah.
That's just kind of what I've noted, you know.
No, I agree and support that, and I also just know that there's a tendency, and I hope you haven't run into this in an undue amount, because I had a grandfather who was like this. He would ask probing, not confrontational, but contrary questions like that about things that he was curious about or didn't understand, just for the sake of trying to understand more or seeing what someone would think of in a critical space like that. Yeah. And it's been a education in conversations like that to examine my own instincts to defend what I like, I guess, when that's not even the point. It's just to examine. And so by that, I think those are important questions to ask, and I appreciate you for asking them. Well,
I've been having similar conversations with people recently because I have a friend who's Canadian, and we did an interview thing together, and she basically came up with this idea that because of Americans' inability to self-critique, that actually it's helpful to have Brits or Canadians or Mexicans or whoever happens to be like nearby, just, you know, relocating, joining in to kind of point these things out. And it's often the way that it actually takes an outsider to kind of draw people's attention to things, just because, you know, you want things to be better, don't you?
Yeah.
I'll let you take a break, because I know that you're a bit tired. I saw you yawn inside your mouth just then. It's fine. I feel you. I've got your back. I'll do. It's Thursday, so we're going to talk to Hal today anyway. In about 15 minutes' time. So I'll.
And we do have the news update locked and loaded.
Oh, should we do that? Okay, let's do the US news update, and then I'll come back and finish up some of those stories in the last 15 minutes, and then we'll talk to Hal. Okay, the US news update. It's the podcast. You can download it wherever you get your podcasts, and here it is. It's Thursday, March 31. From the Volley Network, this is your daily US news update. I'm Anthony Davis. Senator Susan Collins on Wednesday became the first Republican to declare support for President Joe Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, further boosting her prospects of becoming the first black woman to serve on the top U.S. judicial body. Collins, considered a moderate Republican, disclosed her intention to vote in the Senate to confirm the federal appellate judge in a statement released by her office. The senator said she reviewed Jackson's record, watched her testify during her Senate Judiciary Committee confirmation hearing last week, and met her twice in person, and concluded the judge possesses the experience, qualifications, and integrity to serve in the lifetime post. Collins lamented what she called a disturbing trend of politicizing the judicial nomination process. No matter where you fall on the ideological spectrum, anyone who has watched several of the last Supreme Court confirmation hearings would reach the conclusion that the process is broken, she said. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said last week the chamber was on track to confirm Jackson to the lifetime job before its expected break for Easter on April 8. Senator Joe Manchin, the most conservative Democrat in the Senate, announced last Friday that he would vote to confirm her, signaling that she will have the votes to overcome widespread Republican opposition. With a simple majority needed for confirmation and the Senate divided 50-50 between the parties, Jackson will get the job if Democrats remain united, regardless of how Republicans vote. Your daily US news update is part of the Volley Network. To hear my live daily morning show, ask your Amazon Echo device to open Backchannel. There it is, the US News Update. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Anthony Davis. This is Backchannel. And welcome. We've been looking through some of the newspapers. We did the Oregonian, we did the Ithaca Journal, we did the Montgomery Advertiser, the San Francisco Chronicle. So we've been kind of working our way through those. Let's just do the Houston Chronicle, just to go to Texas for a moment. Council okays ban on vaping in public, which is always helpful. A moment of unity, an astronaut joined by cosmonauts back from historic 355 days in space. Yes, this is Mark Van Hay, who is carried to a medical tent, or was carried to a medical tent, after he and Russian crewmates landed in Kazakhstan. There was some concern that, because of the war in Ukraine, there's a small chance that he might not be able to get back, but of course he did, it's absolutely fine. So there we go. So that's kind of the newspapers. I wanted to talk about, Joe Biden tapping the oil reserves. This was something that we kind of mentioned very early on. The release of up to 1 million barrels of oil per day from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve, according to two people familiar with the decision, in a bid to control energy prices that have spiked as the US and allies have imposed steep sanctions on Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. Well, the announcement could come as soon as Thursday. Well, that's today, for goodness sake, man. When the White House says Biden is planning to deliver remarks on his administration's plans to combat rising gas prices. The duration of the release hasn't been finalized. It could last several months. The people spoke on the condition of anonymity to preview the decision. High oil prices have not coaxed more production, creating a challenge for Biden. The president has seen his popularity sink as inflation reached a 40-year high in February, and the cost of petroleum and gasoline climbed after Russia invaded Ukraine. Crude oil on Wednesday traded at nearly $105 a barrel, up from about $60 a year ago. So that's kind of interesting. We talked a bit about Bruce Willis and his diagnosis of aphasia. It's a condition that impedes a person's ability to speak and write, and so he's stepping back from acting because it will impact his cognitive abilities, which is very sad, of course, and so we've had a little chat about him. The world is seeing the greatest number of conflicts since the end of World War II. This is something I mentioned and wanted to talk about also because 2 billion people, it's a quarter of the world's population, now lives in conflict-affected areas, according to the United Nations. An estimated 84 million people were forcibly displaced because of conflict, violence, and human rights violations, and an estimated 274 million people will need humanitarian assistance due to conflict, according to the UN Secretary Antonio Guterres. In remarks to the UN Peacebuilding Commission, Guterres said the world is experiencing the highest number of violent conflicts since 1945, as World War II drew to a close. He said the world is grappling with the most conflict since then and proposed a plan to bring stability to places such as Yemen, Myanmar, Syria, Sudan, and the Ukraine. Some of the calamities that countries are facing include military-led coups, nuclear weapons, and terrorist networks. Guterres said his plan places prevention and peace building at the heart of our efforts. I mean, it's interesting that he didn't include America, because you could argue that America has seen a coup recently, an attempt by the government to overthrow the incoming government and reinstall itself as the government. I mean, that is a coup, and a political coup. And Donald Trump is still pushing for this. He's still trying to get the election overturned. So you could put America on the list with some of these places that is seeing human rights violations, or conflict. I mean, that's the reality, isn't it? That's the reality of this story. And isn't it crazy that we don't include ourselves in America, where we kind of feel like, well, we can't be part of that. And yet, in reality, it's already happened. There was a coup here just a year ago. Well, across the world, an estimated 84 million people were forcibly displaced because of conflict, violence, and human rights violations. An estimated 274 million people need humanitarian assistance due to conflict. He said that working countries such as the Ivory Coast, where the organization encouraged platforms for women and young people to engage in political conversations, and Iraq, where it assisted with the country's COVID-19 response. Guterres additionally proposed the UN aim to get $100 million a year in donations for the agency's peacebuilding fund, and state the UN should have formal commitments from member states after its April General Assembly meeting. Well, second, to support these critical investments, he says, I encourage member states to come to April's high-level meeting with concrete solutions. He said, when we consider the costs of war to the global economy, but most of all to humanity's very soul, peacebuilding is a bargain and a prerequisite for development and a better future for all. So there we go. That's the words of the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He's actually a good one. We've had a few good ones recently. Ban Ki-moon, I think, was one of them, wasn't he? And who was the other one before him? Kofi Annan. I met Kofi Annan, weirdly. I don't know how I managed to do that, but it just kind of happened. Okay, so let's move on a little bit here with... let me look at some of your messages again, because this is something that's very important to me. We've got Thriving Dinosaur who's dropped in. Robbie from Arizona. Wagner, or Wagner maybe, but Wagner. Gorgeous Hippopotamus has joined us for the first time. Welcome. Flaky Badger is here. And Carrie joined us for the first time as well from North Carolina. Hello, Carrie. Welcome. And Ethan as well. Welcome, Ethan. So thank you. Nice to know that you're hanging around. Welcome to Backchannel. Welcome to the show. Okay, let's spend the last few minutes of the program before we talk to Hal, looking at our Women's History Month. We're going to look at Sister Rosetta Thorpe today. She's the Arkansas native, one of gospel music's first superstars, and she was the first gospel performer to record for a major record label, Decca, and an early crossover from gospel to secular music. Well, she's been cited as an influence by numerous musicians, including Bob Dylan, Little Richard, Elvis Presley, and Johnny Cash. So I thought we'd spend a little bit of time just looking at her life. She died in 1973, so she died 48 years ago. Wow. She was born in Cotton Plant, which is Woodruff County, on the 20th of March, 1915. An evangelist, singer, and mandolin player for the Church of God in Christ, and she went by the first names Rosa, Rosietta, and Rosabelle. Used both her father's last name and her mother's maiden name, Nubin. She began performing at age 4, playing guitar and singing Jesus is on the Main Line. By age 6, she appeared regularly with her mother, performing a mix of gospel and secular music styles that would eventually make her famous. As a youth, she could sing and keep on pitch and hold a melody. Her vocal qualities, however, paled beside her abilities on the guitar. She played individual tones, melodies, and riffs instead of just strumming chords. Well, this talent was all the more remarkable because at the time, few African-American women even played guitar. Her style was influenced by her mother's mandolin playing by pianist Arizona Drains. Excuse me. She also sang the popular hymns of the day, including the compositions of bluesman and turned gospel musician Thomas A. Dorsey. In fact, elements of the blues are readily apparent in her guitar styling. Later, her music will be influenced by work with jazz greats Lucky Melinda and Cab Calloway. Billed as the singing and guitar-playing miracle, she was an added attraction at her mother's church services. Both mother and daughter worked as members of an evangelistic troupe that worked throughout the South before arriving in Chicago in the late 1920s. There, she became part of the growing holiness movement, a late 19th century offshoot of the Pentecostal denomination, which in the 1890s led to the formation of the COGIC, and other new religious groups. So, I mean, this woman had, she had this incredible life, as a singer in the religious market. And her music and influence continued years after her death. The songs have been recorded by Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash, spoke of her impact on music. The U.S. Postal Service in 1998 issued a Rosetta Thorpe postage stamp. In 2003, the album Shout Sister Shout, a tribute to Sister Rosetta Thorpe, was released with versions of Thorpe's songs by female artists, including Maria Muldaur. She sung Midnight at the Oasis, Odetta and Marcia Ball. She was inducted into the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame in 2012. American Masters featured her in 2013 on PBS. And she was inducted into the Entertainers Hall of Fame as well. So, she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the Early Influence category, with Brittany Howard of Alabama Shakes performing 2 of Thorpe's hits at the induction ceremony in Cleveland, Ohio. So there we go. It's just important to remember some great Americans, and this is Sister Rosetta Thorpe, born in 1915 and died in 1973. So there we go. Kind of amazing, really. Proud Deer dropped in. Hello, Proud Deer. Slippery Raccoon as well. Robbie says hi. Hello, Robbie. Welcome to the show. Nice to know that you're listening and watching and part of it. Travis, do you want to pop back in and, we can have a final thing? Because there's something I wanted to show you. I don't know if I've ever shown you this before. I know that you're lining Hal up, which is wonderful. Just talking about equipment, I wondered if you had one of these, like I do, and I wondered if you knew what it was. Do you know what this is? I'll hide the words. What this is?
Ooh. Hiding the words does me no favors. No, I do not.
This is... You see that?
I can read rap.
Oh, no, it's the wrong way round. Sorry, it should be this way round.
Cough blocks.
This is a cough blocks.
Oh, is that a kill switch?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
It's a cough button. Watch, I'm going to do a cough for you. Here I go. 1, 2, 3. You see? Isn't it brilliant?
Wonderful.
So every home should have a cough button.
That's really good. Thank you.
If you want to buy one of those, it's like $40. It's called the Cough Blocks.
That's great.
Cough Blocks. BLOX.
Put it on the list.
My mum actually got me that for Christmas.
Really? Oh, that's
it was on my Amazon wish list.
Good. Such a good mom gift. My goodness.
Yeah. Is that what you call it? A kill switch?
Yeah. I know that from.
I mean, typical Americans, right? I mean, in England we call it a cough button. Typical Americans have to have some kind of death, murder, execution, guns, a kill switch.
Hey.
I mean, if that isn't really the summing up the whole conversation that we've had today, I don't know what is.
It's so there's such frivolity in cough box. Kill switch.
Right.
Gotta kill the signal. which is also a misnomer, because as soon as you release the button, it comes back. So
So it's not dead after all.
No, it's not. It's mainly paused.
It's just a temporary pause.
Temporary pause.
Is your pal around? Your pal?
I just got the word he'll be here in about 2 minutes.
Oh, that's great. He's probably washing his hair.
Well, he's probably trying to get that green screen up. That thing is
Oh, I see, yes.
That poor guy.
Have you ever been around to Hal's house?
I've not.
No. So we genuinely, all of us, we're completely remote. Like, nobody knows who anybody is or where anybody is. We're just having this, like, wonderful virtual relationship with strangers. We're effectively strangers who are connected purely through the power of the Backchannel.
And isn't that just what this is all about?
Well, I have to say my whole life is like this now, and I really kind of like it. I'm very, very happy to be a remote worker. It just suits me,
Yeah.
Mind you, saying this, after this, I'm going to drive to go see my brother. I will drive for half an hour in a car.
Oh,
yeah,
jeez.
like an actual physical interaction with another human.
Oh wow, that's not nothing. But I also agree that the idea of our responsibilities taking place within the safety of our home environment.
Yeah.
We execute our responsibilities in an environment that we're comfortable and feel very much at our powers at. It's great.
Did you know this is a door back here?
That's a door?
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to see?
Yeah, go ahead. Look at that. Do you know this is a garage?
No.
Oh god, my headphone fell out. I'm sorry. What was that?
I didn't say anything.
Oh. Yeah, this
Let's
is a
have a look.
garage.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yep. So
That's just amazing.
that wall is a door right there. The whole thing comes up.
I mean, we're just full of secrets, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, we're just riddled with secrets.
As I've said in I think it was when I was with Mario and Hal in the stream, only we know what this looks like on the outside.
And probably best that
Yeah.
way. You know, I think it's definitely healthier.
Yeah. Speaking of healthy, Hal's in the building.
You're kidding. Are we going to get 3 of us on the screen at once? I mean, is that even possible?
Let's find out. Let's see.
Whoa! Check it out. Like it's the ultimate threesome.
Well, I don't know about that.
You are
that could be taken
You're
taken
super
several
loud
ways.
Today, Hal. Something's
Oh,
going on
sorry.
with you.
Let me.
You're like
Check your
yeah.
audio input.
Yeah, you're at like 176.
I think we got it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Someone's
Little better,
someone's
little better.
Echo
There we
show
go.
speaker just went bust.
Oh, sorry about that,
Flames.
folks. Coming in hot. Sorry.
Coming in hot, yeah. Yeah. I was just saying to Travis that it's so kind of cute that we're all strangers, and yet, because we've never met, but yet we're all strangely friends because we've spent a lot of time together.
Indeed.
You know?
Yeah.
There's
You
something
and I
kind of
probably
magical
live.
about that.
You and I probably live less than a mile from each other, Anthony.
I have no desire to meet up with you. I'll be honest. I really like this. I really like this kind of virtual friendship because I'm worried
Noted.
that. No, but I'm only saying that because I'm only going to disappoint you. You know, and I think we're doing pretty well at the moment. So it's like normally I like to underpromise and overdeliver, but I fear that I've already overdelivered, and so it's only going to be disappointing in person.
Yeah. No, I have a similar effect on people. Let's keep the illusion and enjoy.
Let's play a game with the real world,
Well, I'm a
right?
great hang. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Well, no one is questioning that you're a great hack. Who knows? Because when I worked with some people who live on the East Coast, and I met them recently, and they were all completely different heights to what I had in my mind, right? So I just wondered if we could guess each other's heights. Now,
Well, Travis and I have talked about this, and I was surprised.
Because Travis
yeah,
looks
I
quite
was-
long. You know, I'm seeing some neck, and I'm seeing some kind of long torso. So I'm getting I'm getting some height from Travis.
To be fair, Hal, I have forgotten how tall you are. So, and I apologize for that. I forgot to mark it down on the wall.
Anthony, I'm going to say that you are 5'4".
Wow. So you think he's basically standing up behind that? There's no chair. It's just standing at a desk.
Sorry.
Is that your final offer?
No, I'll say 5'9". 5'9".
I'm gonna go 6'1". I think we got a tall guy here.
Interesting.
He's 6'2".
And
Production value.
5'10".
there you go.
There it is.
5'9", 5'10".
5'10". Well, you know, probably these days I'm probably like 5'9.5", but it's always around there. You know, it depends if I'm wearing the Cuban heels or not.
Oh, there you go. When you go out clogging.
Hal, I'm going to have you down as maybe a 5'8". I think you're a 5'8" kind of girl. Am I
Kind
close?
of girl.
Yeah, am I close?
You nailed it.
No. Are you 5'8"?
I am.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Okay, so there's just one character left in this the three amigos. You know, this kind of three stooges or whatever you want to call us. I'm going for 6 foot with you, like on the nose, 6 foot, Travis.
Wow.
Am I
You
right?
Nailed it. Actually,
I did?
Yeah, I am. It's up for debate, but I vacillate between 5'11" and 6 foot, depending on who I'm trying to convince that I'm not actually 6 feet tall.
Interesting.
I'm a dating app 6.
Right.
Yeah.
So really, the three of us, if we did meet, we would have to stand in height order. So
Absolutely.
So I would be in the middle.
Yep, it'd be Hal, and then you, and then me, but we pretty much look the same if you're more than 10 feet away. It'd be
Right.
just like those guys are the same height. Why are they standing in the line?
Oh, I don't think so. I think it'd be just a graduated slope.
Yeah, it would be a graduated slope, but it just depends on the perspective. But I mean, this is all very important information.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
know?
absolutely.
I think if we were to line up for coffee, we would have to Hal, you would have to go first, because I really feel like A, because you're buying, but B, because then the graduation
Well,
would grow out of the door.
we don't want the barista to think we're hiding somebody.
No, it'll be
True.
like Muppet Human. Are you aware of the Muppet Human?
Oh, what is that like children playing adults with they're sitting on each other's shoulders wearing a trench coat?
Very close. In the Muppets, there's a Muppet Human or Muppet Man, I think they call it sometimes. It's they've used it multiple times in the Muppets, where they all climb on each other's shoulders, and one of them is the face, and they put a big trench coat on, and they try and convince humans that they're human height. Yeah,
That's great.
That's exactly what I was saying.
it's exactly what you were saying. Yeah.
Yes.
I just basically just said it again, in a slightly different order. I'm a big Muppets fan, by the way, especially the new Disney movies. They made 2 films, and Muppets Most Wanted, and what was the other one? The Muppet.
Muppets XXX After Dark.
Exactly. That's
Kermit is the foremost banjo player in the world, much to Travis's chagrin.
It's just
Really?
Yeah. Travis,
That is-
not a Kermit fan.
that's not what I'm saying. First of all, that's
Not acceptable, Travis.
That's-
Not acceptable.
My words are being twisted. I just think I know for a fact that Steve Martin is a better banjo player than Kermit the Frog, and just because Twitter disagrees
Bollocks.
doesn't mean they're all right.
Bollocks.
All right. Fine.
I could listen to you guys all day. In fact, I'm going to listen to you guys for another 2 hours now. I'll have you on as I'm driving to Santa Monica.
You're a
But,
glutton for punishment, Anthony.
Hey.
I can take it. I can take it. I know quality when I see it. Travis, thank you for looking after me for the last couple of hours. Pal, Hal, go forth and multiply and have a really
Thank
great
you,
show.
good sir.
And I'll catch you on the other side. All right. Thank
Always
you
a
so
pleasure.
much. Always a pleasure. Okay. Take care. Hal's next. I'm back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. Have yourself